Good morning to North America. Good evening to everybody in Europe and in Asia, and very welcome everyone to the Master of Code Live broadcast, Season 2. AI skyrocketed its adoption over the last 18 months, and Gartner says that chatbots are just one step away from the slope of enlightenment on its AI hype cycle. And in the same time, even more AI technologies are coming to accelerate business growth, to sculpt change and ensure engineering trust. Together with conversation design and conversational AI, those technologies are transforming customer experience, customer support, and digital customer services for an on-screen world. And all that happens beyond chatbot. Beyond Chatbot is the name of our brand new live broadcast. So thank you everyone for joining us today. We have a new episode today that will be dedicated to a new, not new, but the industry that has not been covered during the season 1. So today we are going to talk about power and utilities industry that actually has been impacted by the conversational AI technologies as much as actually the others. So let's discuss what is happening in this industry, what are the challenges, and what are the challenges can be addressed with conversational AI. And to discuss it, my pleasure to welcome my guest today. So please welcome Ryan Davies. Hello, Ryan.
Hi, Andrii.
Hi. Thanks for joining us today. Ryan is a senior account executive at Master of Code. Has a really strong background on projects also related to power and utility industry. So I plan our conversation today will be fruitful and exciting. So Ryan, thanks for joining. You know, when I was preparing for our conversation today, like I was thinking about the projects that we have delivered already and the projects in different industries, and actually particularly about the power and utilities. I asked myself a question: why are we talking about power and utility industry today? Do you have any ideas why we're doing that?
Yeah, I think, thanks, Andrii. It's great to be here. And I think this is a wonderful topic to be talking about in a great industry when it comes to beyond chatbot and conversational AI. This is an industry where it is extremely heavy in terms of customer questions and what their clients are looking to achieve. There's a big difference between the different types of utilities and public versus private utilities and things like that. So there's a wide scope of use cases, but it's something that conversational AI really strives and thrives in this area to be able to help increase customer satisfaction, reduce wait times, and provide answers faster and accurately to the end user.
Yeah, I agree with you absolutely. With only one thing to add, what I was thinking about why we're talking about the power and utility, maybe because the digital transformation as a journey, you know, that everybody like is talking about, is finally really touching the industry, which used to be pretty old-fashioned one. This is like my assumption, I would say. But still, you mentioned absolutely right that there are private utility companies and public. By the way, do you like see any difference? Like we need to set the stage between those types of utility company, the private one and the public one.
Yeah, that's a great question. Where I'm located, our utilities are all crown corporations or sort of have a government oversight on them. So it's a one-stop shop. I don't have options to go outside and get power or water, whatever else from different sources. That's not the case across North America or around the world. There are competitive environments. There's competition between types of utilities. Power can be supplied from different natural resources, for instance. So there is a little bit of a difference in terms of what they are looking to achieve and how they're looking to achieve it. But there is a lot of similarity in terms of the use cases and what each of them, no matter if they're public or private, are looking to solve and provide more back to their users.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, I've been to the Conversation Design Conference recently, and there was a insight or statement that people actually hate talking to banks and insurance companies. And like, what do you think about the power and utilities companies? Like, what's the behavior of the consumers towards this type of organizations?
Yeah, with customers we've worked with clients that are dealing with the incoming requests, a lot of them tend to be sort of high stress, high urgency requests. So when you're thinking about a reason that you're reaching out to a power utility company, it's either you have a question or a problem about your bill. So that's very common in terms of I received this and I don't understand it. It's too high. It's whatever it is. I need to talk to somebody. I need information about it. It's I have an outage. So I've had that one where I'm trying to, hey, I have a power outage. I can't use anything. I'm on my cell phone. I'm trying to report an outage. I want to see how long it's going to be because I've got, things that are pressing, or I've got children in the house that are, dying for Netflix or whatever it is, kind of a thing, right? So there's outage issues and things like that. Moving, there's three high stress things in life. Is the three highest stress are weddings, funerals, and moving are the big three, right? So when you're moving, you need to know when to disconnect, when to reconnect, how to do it, what the steps involved are. You can't have lags and outages and things like that because especially in today's world, if you're moving, there's a good chance, like me, you're in a home office and you need to go back to work the day that you're moving or the day after, sort of a thing, right? So there's certain factors that are in play. And I think that typically when people, old school, as you mentioned, pick up the phone or send an email, and now what we're pushing to is conversational AI and reach out to these utility companies, it's because they have an urgent or a high stress matter. So you're already kind of going in with a little bit of a sour taste of why you have to be talking to them. And it can cause that, I really don't want to have this conversation, right? So you're already on the defensive. And I think that's why, and kind of that feeling with same thing with bank and insurance, right? Money is
Yeah.
very stressful, and insurance, you're typically dealing with something that's pretty heavy life impact. So I can see the parallels there for sure.
Yeah, and you just started and mentioned the things that related to the challenges that this industry is facing, and I think actually that most of the industries are facing with the consumers of all the industries like e-commerce, banks, etc., are in the world of speed and in the on-screen world, I would say. But when we're talking about the power and utilities, I think this industry is more than other is connected to our lives. And as you mentioned, I do remember we've had a call like a few months ago, just really few, and you had a storm in Canada in the Winnipeg region. And I know I was talking to our CTO, and he didn't have a light and energy in the house, and he didn't know what to do. This is one of the challenges, and it happens day to day. What I used to observe in different markets, particularly in North America, that until you're faced with the issue, you're even not trying to actually to solve it.
Right.
That's the thing. And with the climate change, yeah, I know we are jumping to maybe too high in terms of the things we're touching during this conversation, but I think that things like alerts, some nature disaster, this will happen, and power and utilities is something that your life is dependent on. Do you agree?
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, we have that here. We have some very adverse weather. Our summers have some very strong
Yeah.
storms and things like that. Our winters are minus 30 and below, major blizzards and windstorms and whatnot. So it's definitely something to consider and look out for. And like you mentioned, you're typically reactive in these situations. Power goes out, you want to report an outage, you need to know when it's coming back. We've had storms that have knocked out power for multiple days, not just a few hours, like
Yeah.
days at a stretch. So when you're looking at things like that, I need answers. I need to know, like, can I open my fridge and freezer or not? Because I got to keep my food cold because it's going to spoil if I'm in there too much. Or, okay, the power's coming back in a couple hours. We'll
True.
be okay. So there's all sorts of life planning. And like you said, chaos beyond home life and work life and everything that happens. in these industries in power and utilities. So if these are all life essential things that you really maybe take, as you mentioned, take for granted day to day, but can't go without either. And there's a major cost involved with an outage. There's a major cost involved with what your usage is and things like that. Again, our energy bills here spike like 4 times in the winter what they do in the summer. So there's all sorts of factors to consider that really, as you mentioned, e-commerce and things like that. These are all choices you make. Utilities are essentials, so it's a very different feeling from that perspective.
Absolutely. And actually, what I'm thinking about right now that power utility companies, they have I think the best customer card in their CRM systems. They have everything about you. Even banks and medical organizations, they probably have the same information. But power utilities is something that they really have a personal information about you, the usage of the utilities, etc., etc. And I think this is also one of the challenges of the industry is how they can use this data with CRM systems that custom developed or not, or maybe branded one, Microsoft, Salesforce. I don't know what I saw different types of systems that are used can be integrated in order to create this really to use this data for smooth conversational experience with consumers, whether it's alerts, whether it's account management or reaction to the COVID-19 circumstances or anything else, right?
Absolutely, yeah, and we find that as well. And when I'm dealing with different utilities companies, there are ones, as you mentioned, that use that off-the-shelf style CRM or something that's common. A lot of them use custom systems because they have very unique circumstances that are to their region or to their customer base or to their utility or whatever it is. They have different factors in play. So there are a lot of custom, these, like you mentioned, these custom Microsoft, Oracle, whatever type systems that are built in. And that data becomes incredibly valuable, as you mentioned. Even things like, are you eligible where you are for a certain utility, and being able to geo-fence that or geo-map it against a utility line to understand it's even potentially there, and then being able to alert that customer that, hey, in the utilities industry, that we now have access to an upgrade or to something different in your area. This is beneficial to you. We've had that where I live. I live out in the country, and we had well water and septic fields, so in our backyards kind of idea. Well, now we have like sewer that's now hooked up, that's running to a water treatment plant and things like that due to the environmental initiative of the area, et cetera, et cetera. So there are alerts going on about that and what it is for hookups and when it's coming and what it means for you and how much it's going to cost and when it's turned on for your area and when to expect work on your yard and all those sorts of things, right? That these series of alerts are, again, they impact you so incredibly heavily. But having all of that data in a CRM and being able to build from that conversation that you're having into a CRM so that you can either see it with an agent if there's something that needs to be discussed that's much higher and sophisticated, or in terms of future alerts, and being able to analyze that data and understand what are customers asking, what do they need more of, what do they need faster access to, and how do we improve that. So that's a really great point, and being able to build into that, creating those custom bridges and segues between them or APIs between them is incredibly important.
Totally agree, Ryan. From what we have just discussed, so I think we can split the types of conversational AI use cases into two parts: simple one and complex one. So from simple use cases, I think the things related to the account management are the most obvious, I would say. It's like reset the password, change address, which is obvious, or billing information, receive paperless bills. It's in digital first world, it's pretty normal already, and I'm surprised when I'm getting the paper one, but it's okay, life is life. Track the usage. What else from these simple use cases standpoint? What have you observed talking to different companies?
Yeah, I think you can even break it down simpler than that, right? So you can have a conversational experience where you don't need authentication, where you are just looking for information about the utility, about an outage, about updates, about events, about whatever it is, where you don't even need to authenticate that you're a user or anything like that, and being able to ask questions. If you're a potential new customer, again, so you're somebody who's either moving into a new area or considering switching utilities, you might have questions where you're not even already on their network or on their grid or whatever it is, right? So that's a pre I guess, in terms of you don't even need to be
Yes.
authenticated. Then once you get into authentication, you can do some simple stuff. Again, you're looking at bill payments, you're looking at just, again, I need to source my bill, I need to we've got tax season coming up around the corner here. I have a home office, so I need to be able to write off all of my the power usage or my internet usage or whatever it is. I can pull all my invoices in a PDF and then have them, so I've got all that information and ready to go. So there's simple stuff that you can do to be able to do the really easy things that are
Yes.
really, again, like you said, high frequency. The reasons for the majority of the reach outs that are happening to these utility companies, and be able to, similar to like on a cell phone, you're tracking minutes, or tracking, I guess not minutes anymore, it's really old school, but you're tracking data usage or whatever it is. Now it's a flip in terms of I'm tracking my power usage, my water usage, whatever. I can get that information and pull it in. I can submit meter readings, all this stuff that really can be done. Now you've got it one little widget and bang, bang, and it's done. Simple. You're not looking around trying to figure out where do I have to go to do this, right? So there are those both pre and post authentication really easy factors that can be accomplished and take a lot off of time off of both parties' plates, both the user and the utility companies.
I think it's a type of so we can better split use cases into the transactional one and non-transactional one. This is the thing. And you've
Yep.
mentioned already like a cherry on a cake, and analytics, behavior. What's the behavior of the consumer in order to personalize the communication with them? And what I'm thinking about right now is really that conversational solution can also, together with the CRM and all the data of the usage, etc., can be used in order to propose or suggest to the consumers energy saving options, so how they can do better. And even more, I know that Microsoft and Amazon, mostly Microsoft as I remember, is talking about that. Actually, when you are going to the digital transformation path, it actually opens for you door for more business as a business. So imagine the power utility company who is suggesting you better energy saving habits can also offer you like additional hardware, a smart house that you can use to manage better your habits, energy, water, whatever, actually, right? And actually earn more money. It's really improving also the business model of the power and utility company. And I think businesses should look at this side as well when we're talking about this transformation, right?
I agree. Yeah. I mean, it all comes down to value to the organization and value to the customer, and how to increase both, right? So when you're looking at that data, you can see, which we do in conversational design a lot, is what kind of inquiries are coming, what are being captured, and what are being missed. Where are you seeing complaints? Where are you seeing drop off? Where do you see
Yes.
that dissatisfaction start to rise? And how can we adjust accordingly so that we can cover that off and provide more value moving forward based on the conversations that are coming in? And as you mentioned, as things evolve, and we're talking about, maybe a little higher than we're going here, but as new utilities are coming around and new power sources are happening, and new, there's all sorts of things that are changing the landscape,
Yes.
in terms of power and utilities. That this is a major factor to consider, is what are the new questions that we're not addressing, and how can we help? And then again, preventative action, as we mentioned before, right? So now you're talking about getting ahead of things. So we're starting to see trends. We're starting to analyze things. We're understanding pain points. We're understanding their experience in real time, and being able to step ahead of that, so that it's not somebody's already dissatisfied, but how can we mitigate risk moving forward to prevent more dissatisfaction among future customers and future users of the utility, and of the conversational experience itself. And then, of course, as you know, my world always revolves back into sales and things like that. This data is something that's just incredibly vital to be able to understand what new areas are adopting, what kind of demographics are there, where can there be expansion to. One of the utility companies that we're working with right now, so we're working on a new customer pipeline for them and being able to acquire new customers. And I use pipeline, but that's exactly what this is they need to
Yeah.
know is how close they are to the utility service and where are they going to expand to next. So where are they getting a ton of requests for now based on address blocks that they can't service, so that they can take that data and go, great, now we know that this is the next best area for us to tap into in order to increase our customer base and grow our product and our revenue and our bottom line, right? So taking all of the data that comes in and using it to the next level is what the really key point is beyond after okay, we've got satisfied customers. We're not passing off to agents. It's costing us less. We're getting a better ROI. We're serving our customers faster and more accurately. Now, how do we even get ahead of that to the next step so we get more customers and serve them before they even have the problem, right? So.
Right, absolutely. Ryan, you had a conversation with a list of companies from power and utility industry. Who are those job roles or people from the customer side who are interested in conversational AI solutions and who are taking or making a decision or impact decision on having this type of solution for their customers or even internal employees for communication, who they are?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like from within the organization who's looking to, I guess, adopt the technology faster and expand it out faster. It kind of, again, you have your line of business and your line of service, so they do overlap a little bit, right? So in terms of your line of business, again, this is getting those analytics and being able to drive more business, but really it's the line of service side that tends to be the ones that get the most excited, because they're the ones that are dealing with high levels of agent inquiries. How do we lower that? How are we proactive? How can we create that? So you're looking at directors of customer experience. You're even looking at marketing if it's new customer area. You're looking, even at operations and things like that in terms of how to be able to increase efficiency and show what's happening across the organization to be able to make decisions in a more agile way. So there's again, it's a little bit across the board, but really anybody that's focusing on that customer experience side and anybody that needs to gather that data and analytics for the next steps in terms of expansion projects and things like that is key. Somebody that here, is close to me locally is they also export a lot of the energy and utilities that they do. So you mentioned that a big part of it is how to calculate and push energy savings in terms of being able to be a low-cost provider to the people locally. That's very key for them, because that is their business model. It's not profitability as much as it is being a low-cost provider and providing people better ways to do things. So again, you're talking about people from that angle who are trying to say, hey, by the way, there's a recycle and appliance program, and here's how you do it.
Yeah.
You get a bill credit and things like that, right? So again, you're looking for that customer experience, because the more energy that's saved, the more that they can actually export, which is a better profit margin for them, which passes on that lower price back to the people that are using it now. So I think that goes back again a little bit to that private-public discussion and whatnot, but there's a wide range of who this can impact, but it really comes down to just a lot of it is improving that customer experience and who's in that area.
I absolutely agree with you. I've been in Dubai recently. There is Expo 2020 is going on, and I've been to Canadian and United States pavilions, and sustainable future and sustainable growth and the development of those countries are the priorities based on the stands and Expo I have seen in the pavilions of both countries. So they're talking about how to save the energy, how to consume it wisely, and I think the entire world is is going towards this kind of mission to help the planet, to save the resources, and to really behave smart in order so we continue living on the earth during the next, 100, 200 years. I don't know what will happen next, because actually United States and Dubai, both, they're planning to go to Mars, and this is really already a strategy for both countries. And it was like, I was reading those news, really, I was reading, but I didn't know it's already like stated in some of the documents, and there are companies that are really focusing on that, besides Elon Musk or his friends, other commercial companies and the governments as well. So it's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it's been like, the shift in this industry has been, like you said, it was a, old-fashioned industry and people take it for granted. But even you look at things like what the growth of the explosion of cryptocurrency and what that's meant to energy and fossil fuel consumption and things like that is unbelievable, right? So that is a huge adaptation that has to take place in the industry. But there's a lot of questions around that too, and why things change, and what farming in that sort of area looks like.
Yes.
And then besides, outside of conventional use, and like you said, this is a major thing. You take in the Paris Climate Accord and all of the, there's so many factors that are in play right now where their energy usage is going like this, and they want to bring it way down. But then how do you keep an industry up when you bring it down? It's unbelievably fascinating. And with that comes a lot of rapid changes to the industry that affects everyday consumers, and they need answers, and they need to be able to keep ahead of those answers to acquire a greater share of the pie that's coming towards them in terms of revenue and customer base.
Oh yeah. I want to summarize. I have a short summary of our discussion. Power and utilities is not a very easy industry and services for consumers to consume, right? And technology, and particularly conversational AI together with conversation design, or if anyone wants chat or voice bots with AI capabilities, with NLP inside, etc., they can help the power and utilities industry just become comfortable for consumers. Just comfortable, because it's too complex. E-commerce is just to buy things, okay? You don't need to be, yes, you should be comfortable, that's right, but it's for buying things. The power utilities to be comfortable. What do you think? What will be your short summary? What's the value of conversational AI for power and utility?
Yeah, I think conversational AI and power and utility helps from exactly that, the very, again, traditional conversational AI use cases of being able to help customers faster and easier and get them on with their day, and not dislike the industry, but support the industry and be comfortable with something that they have to use every day. But it also provides a different level. It takes you to a different space in terms of how you can help your customers. And with so much changing in power and utilities, you need to be able to free up the internal resources within these utility companies to dedicate those time and resources to the new areas, the new projects, and the new way of doing things, so that they can stay ahead and they can be an innovator instead of a laggard and trying to catch up to the rest of the industry. So it's a rapidly changing place where I think people, like you mentioned, they still see it as a bit traditional maybe, but this is probably one of the most rapidly evolving areas in terms of how we're consuming utilities, our expectations of being able to get, as an everyday consumer, answers we need faster and have more access to those changes and what it means to them.
Great summary. Thank you so much, Ryan. Dear audience, thank you for being with us today. So that's it for today. We do a weekly live broadcast, so I'm inviting you to join in 1 week on December 7th, where we have a special guest, a conversation designer from Microsoft. So I won't disclose the topic we're going to discuss. Please subscribe to our LinkedIn page, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, so to be aware what we're going to talk about. So announcement will come tomorrow, December the 7th. It will be 11:30 Central Time in the morning. So welcome. We're going to talk about conversation design with the Director of Conversation Design from Master of Code, Amanda Stevens. So thank you for being with us today. Ryan, thanks for sharing your expertise, your insights, and a great summary. Thank you so much.
Pleasure to join you. Thanks.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.